Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, Boruto episode 232 review. This episode right here is going to be, or was, the first episode of the brand new arc that we are now on. It's actually going to be in the Hidden Mist Village. Now, here's the thing. I think that this episode right here was actually probably like the most boring episode in the entire arc. If you guys have not actually seen the spoilers, or if you guys don't necessarily want to see the spoilers, I'm gonna just tell you guys right now, the rest of the arc is probably gonna be really good. But I know a lot of you guys actually did like this episode, which is kind of confusing. I actually didn't necessarily think it was that interesting. A couple of things that really made me kind of interested in this episode though. The first thing being is the fact that they're going out on a B rank mission. This right here isn't necessarily any old regular mission. And I kind of thought it was interesting, man, because it was Denki's team, Team 5, that was actually spearheading it. Now, later on in the episode, they actually did clarify exactly why they wanted Team 5 to actually be behind a mission such as this. And it's essentially because Denki is the captain of that team. Denki will be the person who actually understands and actually knows how to actually work a lot of these scientific technologies, the robots, and of course, what they had today, the autonomous puppets. But because it is a B rank mission, this right here makes me wonder, what are they supposed to do? Because of course, if it's a B rank mission, just transporting something isn't going to be it. It's going to be something else. If you guys don't necessarily know, the ranks of missions go essentially D to C to B to A to S tier. This right here is a B tier mission, which means it's very important. So of course, I definitely do want to see exactly what they have them do later on down the line in the arc. But majority of this arc, I'm not gonna lie, is probably not necessarily gonna have Team 5 in it. It's probably gonna be like a Team 7 focused. We've seen a slight bit of Team 7 in the preview, and I definitely do want to make a reaction to that. But I just had to point it out. My guy Kawaki finally got his headband. This right here was absolutely crazy. But let's get back to this episode. Now, Denki in this episode, again, more character development for Denki. I think a lot of people are kind of warming up to the character of Denki. Of course, he's probably not necessarily going to be in any sort of plot heavy stuff, but in regards to scientific technology, Denki is most likely going to be the guy who's spearheading the actual improvements in technologies from this generation. I talk about Sumine a lot when it comes to actually learning under a character like Amato, but I personally believe that Denki is the more naturally talented scientist from this crowd of kids, and we actually did see it from this episode right here. Crazy smart. Now, not only that, I definitely do want to give kudos to Metal Lee. Metal Lee, over the past couple of, I should say, years in the Boruto series, it hasn't been good for him. It has not been good for him at all. He didn't necessarily get to the final round in the first tuning exam. He didn't necessarily get anywhere in this current tuning exam. And of course, we understand that he struggled a lot with his anxiety. Now, in this episode right here specifically, it looked like he was fairly fine. It looked like he was cool. He was chilling, doing what he was doing regularly. Now, obviously, he's not necessarily like Rock Lee level or anything like that when he was that age, but still, it was progress. Metal Lee didn't completely collapse under pressure. He didn't necessarily pull a Paul George in the playoffs, but Metal Lee as a whole kind of underperformed what we kind of thought that he'd probably be. Just because we understand, Rock Lee was no joke, Mike Guy was no joke. We thought that Metal Lee was going to be the next in line. It hasn't necessarily been that, but of course, definitely a promising sign in this particular episode right here. Now, when it comes to the overall idea of what they're probably going to be doing specifically in the Hidden Mist Village, I'm not completely sure. I think it's definitely going to be interesting. Now, here's the thing. This team right here specifically, they're essentially not necessarily the best when it comes to combat. That right there was highlighted in this episode specifically, but because it is a B rank mission, it leads me to believe that they're most likely going to be coming into contact with some other people. They already did, but some higher level ninjas. I'm not completely sure how they would handle a certain situation like that. I talked about how Metal Lee, showed some stuff in this particular episode, but hypothetically, when the enemies get stronger and stronger, is Metal Lee going to fold under pressure? Is Denki going to also fold under pressure? Because we understand him when it comes to physical activities isn't necessarily the best. I know what Iwabe brings to the table. Unless we have Wasabi there, then he starts simping. But other than that, I don't really have that much confidence in this Team 5 unit. And honestly, I think that this right here is probably a big blind spot that the Boruto writers have to actually fill out. One of the things that we do understand is that characters get stronger every single day. These characters right here, just my personal opinion, they need a power up. They cannot stay this weak. And we're not even talking about the regular Team 7. Other characters outside of Team 7 looks like they're completely over this squad right here. Tsubaki, absolutely amazing, even though she did lose to Denki in the tuning exam for plot reasons albeit. I wouldn't be completely surprised if Team Wasabi would absolutely wash this team. Inishikacho. Wouldn't be surprised if they completely washed this team. We even got Haoki. Haoki looks like he's absolutely fire. I wouldn't be surprised if he himself also runs through this organization. Now, another thing that I definitely do have to point out, we haven't necessarily seen all of the abilities of this team as well. I have to give them props for that, just because of the sheer fact that we haven't necessarily seen Metalee's Gates progression. We understand when he was in the academy, he unlocked a gate. Now, specifically, which gate was it? I'm not completely sure. A lot of people speculate that it was only one gate. Some people speculate that it was up to 3 gates, but you know, you never know. And I definitely do want to see exactly how good he is or how versed he is with that type of jutsu. Now, the autonomous puppets in this episode was definitely interesting. And this right here, it just brings up a bigger overall question. How far are the Boruto writers willing to take something like this? Because as of right now, it's starting off as these, hey, small, unassuming little puppets, autonomous puppets and stuff like that. But eventually, you guys know how things get. We're probably going to get to see actual autonomous puppets, and we kind of already seen them already back when we were actually fighting versus Ao, before we actually did see Ao. But we're probably going to be fighting against autonomous puppets that are literally like Jigen level or something like that. And of course, we've already seen the advent of that when it comes to cyborgs. But now if you're talking about, hey, just regular, degular, non-assuming puppets, autonomous puppets with no personality, no nothing, just straight up robots. And of course, in the future, they'll potentially be able to rival characters like Naruto and Sasuke and probably even flat out beat them in the future. This right here is just an overall question that I do have for you guys. And I personally believe the answers are very different depending on the people that you actually do talk to. When it comes to scientific technology in Boruto, do you guys think that it's going too far? Do you guys think that, you know, cyborgs, having robots and stuff like that actually compete with the core characters? Do you guys think that's too far? Or do you guys think that this right here is the natural progression that Boruto should actually go to? We understand when Dragon Ball got to a certain point, they introduced androids, they introduced aliens, and of course Otsutsuki and the cyborgs with Naruto are kind of the exact same thing. Do you guys think this right here is like the natural progression, or do you guys think it's a little too much? Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. But it's me, your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.